All right, somebody want to give that to me? The roll order for inspiration for the session.
I'm not doing it. Not me.
Okay.
I've gone. Well, am I meant to? I've done it twice, and I get mixed responses.
results. Yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. Whoever. 3. Okay. So, Filialis, you rolled yourself. Well done, Tom. Perfect. So you have inspiration. And as always, we will start with Filialis in session. Filialis, you step away from the table after the departure of everybody from the hall and that sort of cool down period that you've had. Damian has been quite shaken by this unnatural contact, which you thought may have had something to do with Tegan Huft, one of the Knot of Kozai Croth, when she departed. But somehow, Damian, it didn't seem to be that way. And Damian has sort of shared that this... It was almost like Tegan's natural power as a sorcerer somehow created like a surge of power that enabled something else to be present and to be in very close contact with Damian. Filialis, as you walk to the door, you look and you can see the queue is beginning to form as members of the Order start building towards the great meeting this evening that you now know you will not be attending. But you see it's taking a long time, and they're going through to the main entrance of Anvilhall's entry point. In the distance, you can see what looks to be the orange and brown coloured banner of those travellers that you saw before, that you were warned about, the Aveni. And I'll get you to make a perception roll for me to get some clarity on what you're seeing. It's hard, it's coming in towards the late afternoon and darkness. But it seems that one by one, as best you can make out, members of the Order are approaching this banner from a boundary point. Maybe 20 feet separates them from the next in the queue. And you can see figures stand still for a brief period of time and then are admitted. It troubles you. And it troubles you in such a way that you now feel just itching to get out, to get away, and get on with what you've been tasked to do. To recap, you have been given the task to return to Fetchwood, to Deafear, and to retrieve a vase or an amphora, a receptacle of some kind, which carries 4 Savin animal head images from the Savin tribes. The thing of interest to Filialis is that one of them is the eagle group. And to your knowledge, Filialis, there has been no flying Savin for centuries. So you have this image, you know what you're trying to get, and clearly it's been made apparent to you that Deafear has extracted this item from the caves of Baydar. Viren Meadladle, the owner of the Drake's Chalice, the halfling woman, comes and stands next to you, and she pops her arm around your shoulder, Filialis, and she says, "The times are changing here. In many ways, I think it's probably good that you don't get to go." And she pulls you in towards you and gives you a bit of a kiss on the side of your forehead. Goes, "I like you all too much." And she said, "I prepared a pack for you. Some good meat, some cheese. You're still leaving tonight?"
Yeah, that is what we will be doing.
Very well. We won't make up the beds. And she walks past Damian and goes, she looks at you and she goes, "You look like you've seen a ghost, dear." And she pats you on the side of the face as she walks past, which is quite a reach for her because she's quite small. All right. So, you're moving on? That the plan?
Yes.
All right.
We are.
So you
We-
gather... Yeah?
We ask, well, I will ask, what's her name?
Viren?
Viren,
Yeah?
to keep our,
Yeah, what's up?
Yeah?
to keep our, for all intents and purposes, Viren, we might be going to the hall late for all you know.
What do you want them?
She said, well, she said, if you're leaving tonight and get back in time, I wish you well. You're definitely missing some sort of big event.
Yeah, it's more to keep you safe and us safe. Or if you're questioned, you may be able to rely on the memory of knowing that perhaps we were going.
She said, "Trust me, after all these years of dealing with you lot from that hill, I know very well how to avoid questions, Izhilu."
So we pay for our we pay Viren for all of the wonderful service she's given us from
Okay.
part of that 100 party gold.
All right.
Make
So-
sure that she's clean, you know, the slate's clean and a bit.
Okay. So we'll say that it's probably about 6 pieces of gold, really.
Okay.
Yep, most of the dishes have sort of been, because of that last minute supply when things started running out, it's become more of a, like there were a lot of stews, a lot of shaved haunch meat, you know, that kind of thing. No specific dishes really. It was just trays of things being dished out for everybody. So she'll take 6 pieces of gold for the period that you've been there. You know that she's absorbing some of the cost, and she does have a soft spot for you all. You know, there are some members and some knots in the order that take themselves way too seriously and don't get on with a lot of the people in the local community. All right.
Yeah. Okay. I'll I don't know. I'm happy to pay for those rather than party gold if you want, Tom. I don't know if you're keeping a tab of party. Who's got the bag of holding?
Yeah, that's me. I am keeping tab.
Oh, have you
Okay.
taken it off already, or
Not yet, but I can if you want to.
no? Matt, we'll pay 8 pieces.
Okay, so you're putting in some till, and as always, you know, they do need the money, and there's no doubt about it. She's spoken to you that she has 2 sisters, and the youngest of which is setting up their family tradition of making mead and running taverns around the place. And you've heard that she is, the younger sister, is setting up another inn in Ozeril, the capital of Azure. So,
And what was the younger sister's name? Was that Tarkwald? Targan.
Sorry?
I've got written down the younger sister's name.
Yep.
Oh no, okay, no, I don't have the name.
No. So
Yeah.
the youngest sister is called Lanny.
Lenny.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
You know where the inn is in Ozerul. You don't know what they're planning to call it. It's basically Ozerul is growing quickly as a city because it is about 60 years ago that branch of the Azurian royal noble families took on the royal mantle, and as a result, their ancestral home of Ozerul has growing at a great rate. All right. So you gather your possessions. You have two options. You can beat the same road you came down from Fetchwood that you're familiar with. You know for a fact there isn't any kind of, there's no troll there waiting for you. That's already been addressed. But you could potentially hitch a ride with one of the river boats that is actually going north, but they are rare, and that wouldn't happen with any great speed. So you can either go down to the docks on the river, or alternatively you can just beat it back on foot and be there probably by tomorrow evening.
And with boat, how long might it take? Would it be definitely get there later by boat?
It would depend if one is leaving with supply, which you don't know. If there is a boat that's actually heading upriver, depending on if they make any stops on the way, it could take longer.
What say you?
Well, the coda did mention horses, and last time I knew, horses don't take boats.
That's right. This is true.
Seahorses.
Yeah. All right. So what is your plan?
Yes. Filialis, I'm happy to take direction from the leader. I think we shall move out before it is found that we did not attend, or I'm sure on record we are known perhaps to the Aveni if they have the powers that people believe they have. So it's best that we make move.
Yes, I think it might be good to start either north or south, and then move around to the correct path, so that if anyone was to see us leaving town, they'd see us leaving in a different direction than the one we actually planned to take.
Yep. You prepare with your plan to just head directly north from Ispinvale, avoiding the river path completely. As you know, the road to Fetchwood, the main trunk road, fundamentally follows the river before it deviates into the woods. Fetchwood, as you know by its name, is fundamentally a logging town where they would normally be drifting wood south in the river with like chain barges that bring it down at a controlled rate where it gets milled in Hadring's Anvil for the endless demand for timber. When you were last there, though, one of the differences that Deafear has brought in is that the riverboat hall there has taken to building longboats, which is not something that normally would ply the river, except in the service of the Duke at Hadring's Anvil, for example. These ships are being built and sent south downriver, and to your knowledge, from what you were told in the village the last time you were there, their intention is to go south to Cinderhold and be sold.
And,
But that,
what size are these longboats? Do we know? Like, are they?
they're not.
You know, carried by? battalions, or are they crewed by companies, or?
Yeah. They are what you would describe as probably the kind of longboats that would do like could manage coastal travel. But they're the kind of longboats also that could be dropped or towed by larger craft for whatever purpose, like almost like landing craft. One of the points of concern with Deafear taking control of the village itself is Deafear is a veteran of a Vretsian squadron. You've heard him in the ale hall of the boat hall there, talking about his time among the 7 captains as a Vretsian mercenary and pirate. The issue that was struck you and seems to have disturbed people in the village themselves, which has become quite oppressed, is the speed by which these boats are being built and sent downriver. Almost to the point where it could be reasonably perceived as, for want of a better term, unnatural production rates.
Yeah, unnatural by the number of people under his company.
Yes, very much so. And if you recall, Windrah was concerned because she was quite certain that she saw the glimpse of someone's arm. Do you recall that she saw the arm of somebody going past in a wagon, where she went away with the feeling that it was the marks or the tattoos of a Mordrim, which is the water, sort of the water elemental controllers of the storm plane.
Yeah.
And it is known, and it is a craft within the storm plane for their incredible laminated wooden weapons and things they make as a substitute for metal, that water is used as a way to bend and manipulate wood. But nothing you saw when you were last in Fetchwood gave you any indication of that outside. All you saw was normal longboat building in the boat hall, which Deafear also uses fundamentally as his headquarters. He bases himself there to control the village. You've only been in Deafear's presence once before, and that was to make the arrangements for the equipment you needed to go into the caves of Baydar. And also the outstanding question for you is the issue of Imladi's defective, potentially deliberately defective equipment. The rest of you were unharmed.
What is like? Is Deafear? Sorry, Matt, I can't remember whether he's of any specific race.
Yes, he's basically known to be like a half ogre. Mm-hmm. His parents he was a product of the Vretsian slave pens. He's a huge, obese, hulking creature. The story is that he carries a relic, and his power comes from a relic that he carries. You've never seen it. The biggest problem you have with dealing with Deafear, you dealt with Deafear reasonably well. The issue is his lieutenant, Hidofka. You didn't get off on the right foot because Hidofka is a dwarf. And Izhilu doesn't cope well with them. And there was a bit of word byplay during the discussion. Izhilu, you've come away with the firm view that it was Hidofka that sabotaged Imladi's equipment. And perhaps thinking that was the one you were going to be using.
No, that fits perfectly with my paranoia. That's good.
But from your perspective for Damian and Filialis, despite the fact that Izhilu is somewhat irrational around dwarves, Hidofka is a nasty piece of work. Despised in the village. While Deafear is they're scared of Deafear. And the one thing about Deafear is his control is absolute. He doesn't broke any defiance. But he doesn't go out and make their life hard. He's, somewhat of a sensible, ruler in that sense, whereas Hidofka is fundamentally cruel. So you journey north. You take your path north out of Ispinvale, and you head sort of up this way somewhat, away a few miles north of the town. What I'll get you all to do, one of you please make a perception roll, and with the help action, because you're all really being alert to what's going on. Okay, so Damian, when you turn to head back across the open sort of pasture amongst sort of the farmers' cow fields and things like that, you look back and you see a figure, a physical form, a woman's physical form, making their way back from the crossroads where you turned back down towards the village. The reason why what you have seen is important is because you see these like blue tassels around the hood of this woman's cloak. And you know who that is. You've actually admired the cloak before, the quality of it, because you think you are of the view that it's probably come from a Quandian manufacturer at some point. It was a memory of home. You know that was someone called Toyka. Now, Toyka is one of the Knot of Kwylde's group. You're aware that Ordrimer and Kozai Croth's Knot, as well as your own, are not going to the Great Meeting. But for Toyka to be there and aware of the fact that you've now headed east from that crossroad, the question is, why didn't Toyka also join that queue? Because by now, all of them must be in that hall, even with that delayed entry. So what I'm going to do is, Damian, I'm going to let you make an insight roll, but this is not with advantage unless you choose to use inspiration with that. Okay. You don't know. You don't know if she was there to watch that road. It could just be she's running late. You don't know.
To be clear, Matt, this is she's seen us travelling north, or has she seen us turning to travel east?
She's seen you turning to travel east, because Damian has seen her after you turned to head back towards the northern road. So effectively, you've sort of hit a crossroad on one of the farmers' tracks into the farming land, and you've taken that road back east. Okay. You are aware that Toyka in that group is... Toyka, there's talk that she, at some point when she came into the Order, she had been touched by an entity from another dimension. There's stories of her having powers that come from other places. Okay. So, you carry on with your journey. While the weather has...
Do we?
Yeah, sorry.
Do we, Filialis? First of all, is it only Damian? Does Damian share any of that? I guess.
Yeah, I would have.
Yep.
No.
I just want to quickly ask if we've got the puppies with us.
Yes, you do.
Okay, sweet.
Yep. I've even made tokens for them.
I'm healing. Sorry, guys. If we're in combat, the puppies get healed first.
Yeah. Given.
So yes, they are trotting along beside you, or being carried when they get tired. You know, like how puppies sort of just stop and go to sleep for no reason whatsoever.
Yeah, and they just become limp. Like,
That's right. That's right. Yes, yeah. At this moment, at that point where you turned east a few miles north of Ispinvale, at that point, Filialis is walking along with like this puppy around her neck, just hanging there asleep with the legs on each side, like cactus. Right.
So, Filialis, do we track this Toyka down? We're not under any obligation to fill our returning of this commission at a particular time. From what I remember, there was no time placed on it.
No, there was not. If you want to track her down, we certainly can.
Well, I'm just thinking that, or maybe we proceed knowing that people may be following us.
You can definitely see from the point, because you're gradually going up towards the plateau period, up where the White Forest is, to where the Hadrings, that wall heads up into the northern section. And as you get probably about another quarter mile up that road, you can clearly see in the distance to the south that the figure of Toyka walking south back towards Ispinvale Village.
Maybe we be aware.
You could pursue her, and potentially, if you, with the equivalent of like a forced march, you'd probably catch up with her before you got to the village. So basically the road, that northern pathway where the farmers take through, if you go back that way and join that, there is like like some small ravines between the hills before you start hitting that small cluster of hills where Ispinvale is. The most prominent of those hills is where the manor house is, where Anvilhall is built underneath it.
What say you, Damian?
All right, I'm not honestly not that concerned about it. If we need to deal with it, we can deal with it, but I reckon.
Okay. So you're not pursuing her. You're going to carry on.
Yes.
Yeah, I reckon.
Okay. So you move on. So you head back east and rejoin the road, heading north. You're divesting yourself from the main road. You have delayed getting to Fetchwood probably by an hour or two because of the direction you've taken. But as you head north, you're staying alert. You're doing what you need to do, but you find the journey fundamentally untroubled. Your decision has proven to be wise because during that time, while you see a tender boat going south with logs from Fetchwood, like in sort of chained to the back of this ship to help control their movement, you see nothing going north the whole trip as you walk along the river.
Okay.
As you come through, climbing through the hills up to that, more towards the headwaters of the actual Ispin River itself, you start getting close to Fetchwood itself. And eventually you break through into the village itself. The village basically sits in sort of a mill pond, but a turbulent mill pond at the north of the Ispin River as the snows melt from the mountains to the north. The village itself is like a cul-de-sac with a lot of strong flowing streams coming into it. And behind it to the north is remnants of what used to be how the White Forest used to cover the whole northern mountain range, and is gradually, as time has gone on, has been lumbered out during that period. The village itself, as you start moving towards it, is it's quite large for this region. So basically, as you start heading towards breaking through the actual forest itself, you can see ahead of you the bridge. There is a wooden bridge which crosses the headwaters of the river Ispin. The town is dark. You can hear, it's when you arrive, it's probably getting on to about 8:30, 9 o'clock at night when you start to arrive there. This side of the bridge, the southern side of the bridge, is not guarded. As you approach it, you can walk to the edge and you can see what would normally be sort of the market square or central square of the village itself ahead of you on the far side of the bridge.
Sorry, Matt, are we meant to be seeing an inlay of Fetchwood? At the moment, I've got the main map.
No, not as yet, but I will bring that over to you. So you're familiar with this place. So here you have it. Right. So currently, you're heading here on this road around the bend towards that bridge. As you approach the head of the bridge, you can see that there is an anchored longboat which looks like it's completely finished, and you can smell it's brand new. You can smell the paint and the lacquer. On the far side over here, you can see a much earlier version of it. Yeah, that new boat smell. Yeah, and that one looks it's being fitted out. You can see the actual boat has been finished, but now it's obviously in a state of having benches fitted, crossbars built onto the masts, potentially a figurehead being fitted to it. Inside the boat hall, so whilst this is a long, large roof, there are actually stilts that go out into the river. And you can actually see there is a boat suspended there in a state of production.
Which way is upstream? Which way is downstream?
So this is upstream.
Okay.
Yeah. So as you look at it, there are lanterns lit underneath the boat hall, and you can sort of see the light on it. None of you really have a maritime background at all. Very, for Izhilu, completely the opposite. And you really know nothing. However, Damian, you travelled on ships before, and as a result of that, you're looking at the thing that strikes you as odd about the superstructure of this longboat that's suspended from underneath the boat hall is it seems to be that the great ribs that they're building the planking onto with this ship doesn't seem to be joined anywhere. It seems like they have been bent and warped, and they're of one trunk of timber that has been forced into the shape that it's in. Whereas you've seen ships in Deafear being built, and there's sections of timber that are merged together by craftsmen and bolted together or joined with dove-tailed wood connections and things like that, artistry to form it. This doesn't seem like that. It seems like a trunk has been shaved down and then just twisted into the shape that it needs to be. As you cross the river, you look at this newly finished boat, and you appreciate, all of you appreciate the fact that they seem to be so strong, so well built. That it just screams craftsmanship that perhaps is difficult to achieve. Anyway, you cross the bridge and you move further into the river itself, into the town, itself. Basically undisturbed. And you walk across to where there is one of the main central well. Now there's quite a lot of livestock in the middle of this space. You can see there's some penned goats, there's a couple of cattle that have been pegged down for the night. There are oxen in a pen in this yard, and there are quite a lot of wains, large, big wagons are sitting around, still with tree trunks that have been milled from the north ahead of you. Right.
Are there any like guards or people around that notice us coming in?
No, you do notice that here there are some guard barracks which are just to the right, but there's nobody on guard around them. They're
Sure.
You're confident. Deafear is of the view that his power here is absolute. He doesn't feel threatened by anything. Here, the only inn in the town is the Wainsman's Goblet over here. Now, you are aware of Bar Tidy, who's the owner of the inn. Filialis, can you make an insight roll for me, please? Okay. You have strong suspicions that Bar Tidy is probably a member of the Sewermen, the Thieves Guild. You're pretty certain he is. He seems too savvy, and he seems too disconnected from what's going on in the village.
Okay.
Yeah. But that's the only place you would get any kind of accommodation. When you approach it, you find that it's quite ironic that the actual imagery associated with this, the sign hanging above the wainsman's goblet, is actually a wain with an image of Saint Herethia of the evening's fire. Herethia is a sigillist saint of comfort and welcome. Like a Hestia, sort of Roman goddess figure of hearth and home. Completely out of place with the way Deafear runs this village. But it is there nonetheless. So, you can either find somewhere under a tree for the night, or join what seems to be, while it's quiet, you can see there is definitely lantern light in the wainsman's goblet. No doubt.
Yeah, I think the intro is the go, I think.
Okay. As you approach the inn, which is quite large, you see that there's a fellow taking a piss on the tree out the front of the actual inn. And you see as you walk forward, he looks over towards you as you go past, goes, "Evening."
Evening. Room for 4, thank you.
Okay. And he goes, "No, don't no asking me, mate. I'm here drinking." The door beckons. You're heading in?
Yeah, right.
Okay. You open your way in, and as you come in, you see that the inn is it's quiet. There are a few people there, but as you come through, the actual main drinking room has a large fire in the corner to the right, which is sort of dully illuminating part of the room. There's a couple of lanterns that are set up, one on behind the bar, one on some tables to the left. There are some people at the bar drinking, and from this point you can see Bar Tidy, all right, on the far side. And he looks up. As soon as you walk through Filialis, you're in your hood. You're sort of, no matter what you do, your sort of domino sort of style hair sort of comes through, and he recognises that. And he looks up and he goes, "Welcome back." We go, "Want a room?"
Before, thanks.
Very well. You come through, and as you walk in through to the tavern, you can see that some of these locals, who are clearly Deafear's men, are sitting at drinking pretty well into their cups. You have a couple of other locals are kicking around, but the fellow who you saw outside having a piss walks in behind you as you walk into the room. There's a table to the left of the door frame as you come through, which is empty. Probably about the only decent sized table there. As you go through, you see Bartidy walks around and he signals, and this serving lad comes through and puts down 4 sort of mugs of local ale. Wooden mugs get put down. When you Damian, when you grab the mug, you know that sort of automatic physical reaction, someone puts it in front of you, sort of subconsciously take control of it. You look at the mug, and it looks like the mug has been made out of like one piece of wood. It's quite bizarre. As you grab it and lift it up, have a sniff. It's pretty raw stuff, but you've had this here before. And you take a quick mouthful of it. Bartoldi looks over from the bar and he says, "You want food?"
We're all set, thank you. Just room and drink, thanks.
Righto. He goes, "I'll fetch you some keys in a minute." Then he goes back to pouring from a... You can see that there's a local, one of Deafear's men is sitting there and clearly is onto the port. You know, so there's a small keg on the bar there and Bartoldi's pouring him a port and popping that down for him. The fellow grabs his port, knocks it back and turns around and he goes, "You were here before, weren't you? I can remember. You came in, saw the old man, went to them fly caves." And you see another one of them that's sitting down at a table on the far side goes, "Yeah, they were the ones that had that girl that got fly blowing."
It was not a pleasant sight.
Nah. It's a shame. Lots of good stuff down in them caves. Oh,
Matt,
yeah.
Just a question. Did the what are the lung? What are they called? The
Gorgent lung fly.
the gorgon lung. Did they make a particular sound?
That's a really good question. I will say yes, they do.
Yeah. I would like to just in the background, just gently excuse myself. I'm happy to make a roll for a sleight of hands to do a bit of prestidigitation.
Okay, go ahead.
It's not great, but
but you
I can make the sound of the gorgent lungfly.
They're not so much paying any attention to you. They're more paying attention to the fact they're having this sort of indirect conversation with Filialis. And you make that sort of rat-a-tatting sort of noise that they make, this sort of pattern sort of noise. And you see that they look out, and the thing that is interesting to you, Izhilu, is they don't seem to recognise it. They possibly haven't been anywhere near it. They've probably been told about it, but they've never heard it.
Okay. That was the test, man. That was the test.
Okay. And you see one of them is sitting on is sitting near a chair. Now there are two sitting on a table to the right of you. Or sort of as you're on your table, almost directly ahead of you across the room. And they are both got crossbows, which are sitting next to them on the table.
They're not drawn crossbows, are they? They wouldn't be.
No.
No.
But the two at the table seem to be in more of an alert state, like they perhaps are there for a purpose apart from getting hammered. Okay. When you there's a woman is at the bar and she turns around. She's sitting next to one of these sort of boatwright workers of Deafear, and she says, "Have you come from the Have you come from the Anvil? Have you the Hadrigs? How's it going down there?"
Very busy in there.
She goes, did you hear anything about this bishop militant they're talking about?
Yeah, they've got some foreigners helping them out.
He goes, oh, bit of a worry, that is. Last thing we need is the church getting ahead of everybody's business. And then another fella who's obviously a local turns around. You're right. He goes, last thing we need is the bloody church getting involved up here like they do down south. Have you got any word? We was hearing that there was even strangers who came from the north.
We haven't heard anything about that.
No. And you see the one at the bar that's drinking port. He sort of swings around, turns around on his stool, and he goes, "Why are you here then?"
You're on business, as I'm sure you can understand.
Oh yeah, I understand business, but if you're here on business, then maybe you need to be telling the boss. And you see at that time when you say that, the door at the front opens and you see a small grey-haired but bulky figure walks in. And as he walks in, he goes, "There aren't that many Lees left in that outhouse. Bar tidy." He turns up, "I'm still a bit sticky."
Do we recognise?
And Izhilu, you turn around to the right and you see Hidofka come through. And he looks around and goes, "Oh, look at that. If it isn't the southerner, the wet midget, the even smaller midget, and the newt." And you see,
Hidofka.
I guess, "My reputation precedes me." He goes, "What are you here for? What are you scrounging off our master this time? You get enough last time."
More than we bargained for.
"Well, best you buy me a drink or you'll end up with more than what you bargained for." And he walks through the cabin and moves his way through. He's quite drunk, but he staggers his way around behind a singular table. It almost seems like it's been set up just for him. And he sits down in the chair behind the two with the crossbows. They're in a table adjacent, and clearly have been told to stay alert because they're watching you closely. He goes and sits down at his bench, and you hadn't noticed previously, but there's a small platter there, covered with things like nuts, cheeses, something way beyond the meal that would normally be served to somebody in a tavern. When you look at it, you look up at Bar Tidy, and you can see his expression is sort of, looks back at you, there's no option. He has to provide this kind of volume.
I buy a beer.
Yeah.
Definitely. I buy a beer for him.
All right.
I buy a round. For him and his men. And I would like to carry it to them. And at the same time, again, I'd like to try my sleight of hand.
All right. Oh. And you see, as you walk forward, you make this sort of chaotic sort of gesture as you're sort of a bit tired, getting late in the day. as you do that, you see one of them, there's a couple of quarrels on the table, and you see that he puts it into the top of the crossbow. And the fingers wrap around the string.
So that was because I was going to, I'm casting prestidigitation.
Yeah.
Just to make the beer extra salty, but extra sweet. So it's that beautiful, I want more.
Okay.
Right?
So
I'm trying to get these guys drunk. That's the game plan here.
Okay. So what I'm going to say is that they collectively, so at advantage, they've seen you do something, but they haven't perceived it as threatening.
Mm.
And you put the beer down in front of them
Yep.
on the tray, and you've taken it from the bar and walked back, and you see that none of them take it yet, but Hidofka gets up out of his chair, goes forward to the table, grabs it, and grabs a mug and takes a mouthful of it. And you see he sort of like takes a drink and he winces a little bit at the quality of this beer. But you think it's basically he's either too drunk to worry.
Right. Yeah.
And he then sits back on his chair and slams more of it back and puts it down. And he goes, "Drink the man's beer, boys." And you see they reach forward and grab it and put it in front of them. The two with the crossbows, though, take like a cursory sip. And you notice that Hidofka watches them do it. Like he's waiting for them to overindulge, and they're not. They're following orders, and they put it down. Hidofka leans forward and he goes, table, and he goes, "Have you fed that girl to the dogs yet? What'd you do with her?"
Yes, we do treat ours differently. Dogs is probably what yours deserve, but no, ours got a fitting burial.
Okay, give me a performance roll. And no, actually, make an intimidation. You're actually chucking. Are you deliberately trying to barb that theft? That
Definitely.
Yeah.
Oh,
You think that if he wasn't as drunk, he'd react more to it?
yeah.
And he goes, "I hear they have an entirely thicker tissue for your lot down there, Ispinvale." He says, "We can't get away with that kind of thing up here in the north. While you lot get together and you do your magical things. What do you want? Why are you here? Best you
Food was so good, just had to come back.
so good, just had to come back." He looks at you for a minute, struggles as to whether or not you actually believe it or not. Now, what I'm going to do, Windrah is just, since you have seen what you've seen, and you saw that bending of that wood, and how that boat had been made, she's sitting there just looking at them. That suspicion that she had as to what they were doing, potentially with her people. And you can see she's fighting back self-control of asking those questions. And what I'll say, I think, is, Filialis, you sort of pick up on how disturbed she is, and you sort of gently put your hand onto her shoulder and, grip for her. This is not the time. And she pulls back from asking that question.
I'm Matt, I am concentrating still on my guidance.
Yep, absolutely.
I believe 1 minute's probably may have passed,
No.
but
It's you're probably right at the cusp. So if you want to
yeah.
do something, do it now.
No, that's to Filialis. So I've touched Filialis, giving him guidance.
All right, so Filialis, you feel this energy, this force that's come through from Izhilu is starting to dissipate. So if you want to take an action using guidance, you can do so. It's up to you.
Okay.
But you will need to think about what you are doing now. It's fading out.
Yeah.
Well, they have asked us what we are doing, haven't they? What we're doing here.
Yep.
I'll say that the thing that we were here for before, the search isn't quite complete.
You looking for something else, are you? Roll a persuasion roll with the guidance. Go ahead, give us the guidance roll.
Guidance.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
So you think you've just pulled it beyond the level of drunkenness. He looks at you and goes, oh. And you see he steps back a bit. He's got this quite savage looking mace sitting on the table. And the mace has these 4 what look to be crystal chambers on the head of them. And you see that his hand is on it, and it's like his fingers are caressing these little crystal chambers on it. And when you say you're here, that the business is not quite finished, you see that the agitated rubbing of this thing seems to slow and stop. And he takes his hand away from it. I'll organise for you to see the boss in the morning. And he pushes the tray untouched. He hasn't touched the food at all. He's too drunk. And he gets up. He goes, come on, boys. Time to go. And sort of staggers towards the door. And you watch as they file their way out of the building. And you see as the door closes, after about 20-30 seconds, Bartidy looks up and he goes, he was looking for trouble tonight. Well done. Well done indeed. And he goes over and looks at this tray and brings that tray over and puts it on your table. You've earned that.
Very good.
He goes, I'll get you another beer. Then he turns around to everybody else. He goes, it's about it for the night, folks. Come on, time to clear out. And over probably about half an hour, while you're eating this platter of food that was untouched before, gradually that crowd finishes their drinks and moves out. When that happens, Bartidy goes over and locks the door on the front and comes over and sits down at your table and says, can I join you? He's got like a glass, a goblet of wine. And sits down there. He goes, I was sorry to hear about your friend. She seemed to be a nice enough woman. Yes.
Yes, the nets we were given were not quite so adequate.
Yes.
Things are changing here. He said there was some people who came up here from the south, from the river, a few days ago, just before you left last time. He goes, they were Vretsian. You could tell by their language. They came and they seemed to bring a lot of money to Deafear. But the weird part was there was a woman with them. But she wasn't with them, if you know what I mean. She came and she carried this small box which was with her the whole time. And she took that in with these Vretsians to Deafear. That was just before you arrived last time. The reason I tell you this is because they left, but she didn't go with them, and I've never seen her again. So,
and what did she look like? Did she have anything did she have anything that made her appear different?
Her clothes were of a different cut. She wasn't from around here. Hang on a minute. And he goes over to the door of the kitchen. He goes, come on, come out here. This is Salmon. Salmon, tell him. What'd you see? About that woman who came with those Vretsians. And you see this young lad who obviously works in the kitchen there for him, just said, well, she was strange, this lady. I've never seen anything like her. Her hair was like silver under her cloak. A big, long cloak hanging over the front, like she didn't want anybody to see who she was. And she had the most incredible violet eyes. Like, they was violet. I'm telling you, they were violet. And her face was like, it was carved from marble, like a statue of a saint. Never seen the like.
Is that description familiar to any one of us?
It's strange in the sense that not for so much for Filialis, probably, well, in some ways, yes. The description almost is fey or elfin in the way it's described. But this kid has seen probably not many Savin, but he would probably be able to say if this woman was a Savin. Probably doesn't see many people from the south. But is definitely not a description of somebody who's come from the Kondian Empire. And obviously Izhilu is from the north. Some of the different races from the north would stand out for their own reasons. One of the things that Izhilu has shared with you is that in Ilath, elves are almost non-existent, right? Because of the old wars. But they are more evident in the north and to some extent in the Kondian Empire. So this lad seems to be describing an elven woman, but of unusual appearance and completely out of place here. Because when you think about it, in Balath, elves are killed instantly. They are not completely outlawed. And to a great extent, anywhere within the holy sigil of Ilath, they are deemed to be the enemy.
Do we recognise any, well, when I say we, that would be Izhilu and Damian recognise any resemblance to the Benker?
Okay. No, that's interesting. What I would say is I think it would be fair to say that the description of this woman is probably drowic. Because the darkness of the skin. Because when he was talking about how her eyes were violet and her hair was silver, and he was trying to describe her skin colour, he was looking at Damian. So he was sort of looking at like a darker hued skin. Like, from that kind of thing. Whereas, Damian's appearance is more cultivated in the way that he appears. But he still has that Kondian pigmentation, which is darker than what the Ilathians are used to.
Okay.
But was describing elfin features at the same time. But Bartide looks at it and goes, look, I know you know. And you see he pulls his sleeve up and you can see the mark of the sewerman is on his arm. He goes, I know you've had your suspicions. Yes, I'm one of the sewer. And we were looking at this group when they came forward to see whether there was something we could get from them. But there's something about that woman. Something about it. Almost to the point where young Salmon here, he tells probably the best description of what this woman looked like. But you ask other people who saw her the day that she arrived, caught glimpses of her under that ornate hood, that weird clothing. They all tell a different story. All I know is she, and he points over towards the boat hall. He says, she went in there and she ain't come out. He said, most people in this town come in here every day or two. The occasional beer, the occasional ale. And I've been asking, nobody's come out. And he said, what's more about that drunken bloody fuckwit dwarf has not said a word about it. And normally he'd be the first one to brag. I don't think he was expecting you lot to walk back in. We've heard all about you lot.
I tip him a gold.
Okay.
Just put it on the table and hide it away.
Yes. He said, all I say is I'll keep an eye out tonight. I always keep one of the lads to keep a watch out overnight. I said, lately, he said, those thugs that he's got here, he's been distracted, Deafear. He's not as here as he used to be.
Thank you very much.
If you know what I mean.
There's more deaf there than deaf here.
He goes, but his men have been getting away with more. Hidofka's been getting rid of more. He said a few folks have packed up recently and left. Before, when Deafear first came here, it was hard, but we had no trouble. There were no trouble in the town. There was no trouble with good food, making sure everybody got their share. But lately, he said as more and more boats have been coming out of that hall, it's getting worse. And he's paying less attention to what his bastard ruffians are doing about the town.
How's the town folk coping?
They're getting on with their life. There's a few. The woodcutters are working for him, of course. They're all the fellas who work north and, doing what they got to do. But most of the town doesn't have much to do with him. Unless they've got services for his men.
Yep.
Okay. So he goes, well, unless there's anything else you want to ask. So I'm packing it in. It's been a long day.
Same.
Okay. So you notice that he guides you through. There's quite a lot of rooms here. You've stayed here before. They're comfortable. They're small but well appointed. They're all shared rooms. So are you breaking into teams to pack it in?
How small are the rooms? What, are they doubles or something?
No. Sort of, yeah, two single beds in most of the rooms. So you've got 2 rooms set out. Or alternatively, there is a room that holds 4. You're welcome to have it. It's pretty quiet. So you can all share the same larger room if you like. What would you prefer to
I think
do?
that's
Yep. All right.
Yeah, I think the 4.
Yep.
I think.
All right. Yeah. So that room itself has 4 beds, has a table, like a few amenities in it. It has window. It's an external room, so it faces out to the wall, to the forest itself. So you pack yourself into that room and settle in for the night. Anything else you want to do?
Maybe 1 or 2 hours before bed.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to take my puppy out somewhere in the forest and do some training.
All right. So you pop out, Damien. You pop out and with the puppy, and you go for a walk around the actual inn itself. While you're there dealing with the pup, you see that a couple of large wagons come through. They have tarpaulins down, and they go past you where the tavern is. Sort of around here. They come out of the forest, like from a path, and they take a path this way towards the actual boat hall itself. And because the boat hall sits up on a prow, they go under it. When you are there, you can hear, you've heard it's like a group of people quietly singing hymns in the wagons as they make their way back towards and disappear out of your hearing range underneath this boat hall into the darkness.
Are
any of the hymns recognizable?
Well, Filialis, you wouldn't be there at the time.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, so Damian's there outside. Yep, Damian.
I am. Give me 1 second. Let me just check something.
Mm-hmm.
What would be more useful to me? So I only do one of these at a time. What is it? Advantage also takes damage. Okay. I will cast Disguise Self for myself.
Okay.
Just look like good old John Smith. And I'm going to attempt to sneak my way over and just kind of do some eavesdropping.
All right. So you wander across, and the puppy sort of trails after you. In the darkness, you look like somebody with a young dog, obviously. You make your way past to the edge of the guard barracks building, and when you look now, there is a couple of guards sitting outside, smoking a pipe, having a chat, looking up at the stars on this quite clear night. But they pay no heed to you. You blended in quite normally. When you walk along the street, you see that there are sort of like leather curtains which are hung underneath the pillars of the boathouse on the landward side. And as they are closing, you watch as guards are pulling, not so much forcing, but like guiding this group of people out of these wagons. And as they go stepping down, you catch a glimpse of them that their height would probably be no more than 5 foot. And you see the leg of this person, in this case was a female, and you can see her leg steps out of the wagon, and it's covered in these like blue ink tattoos on very pale skin. And while you're there, your puppy yips a little bit, and you see that this female form turns around slightly, and she's wearing like a leather headband, but you look around and you see the dull, faint red glow of a Stormborn like look at you.
Just gonna pretend that I'm training the dog, I guess. I'll just pick up a stick and be like, "Why aren't you getting it? Go on, go fetch."
Go on, throw a stick, all right.
Like I'm like frustrated that he's not listening to me.
And you do that, and you see she watches, but as these curtains are being drawn shut by Deafear's men, and you see the whole time she's mouthing something, and you can hear this drone of language. Now, you can make an intelligence roll to see if you could try and replicate some of that later, but you would need something in the vicinity of about a 15 or better to do it with any accuracy.
Yep. All right. I'll give it a shot.
Okay.
Yeah. No.
Too focused on the dog. So as the curtain shuts, and you know a few things. That woman that was coming out and being assisted out, and you could see other forms in the distance, but you couldn't quite make them out because it was too dark. But definitely Stormborn, that woman coming out, which are rare enough here. You don't see Stormborn outside of the storm plane normally. Windrah's an exception. But
you're right.
You clearly remember the bright blue tattoos on her skin. All right.
Have they all moved like indoors or out of sight?
They're definitely out of sight now. Those curtains, those leather sort of large drapes. We're talking about something that a wagon can go past, like they're that large, they hang that low, are pulled shut. And you can see that somebody's obviously putting some noggins together to lock them together.
Any way I could sneak up to it, like around the back, and just kind of eavesdrop?
You can definitely get close to where these leather shrouds are around these pillars. Like the whole thing you cannot is covered. Like if you recall, when you came in, you crossed the bridge, you could actually see that longboat hanging where it was being worked on. Now, when you do a quick walk around and have a look, they've dropped these leather shrouds all the way around it, all the way to the riverside. So there's nothing. You can't see anything from the outside. However, you can hear things. So give me a perception roll.
I will guard myself for this.
Yep.
As long as I am hidden from everyone.
Yep. Okay. So
And that's
you're
4.
listening. Yeah. So you listen and you hear this like almost like high-ish pitched but quiet. It sounds like a Gregorian chant. In the background, you can hear somebody extolling people. You know, like basically saying, "Come on, right, keep doing it." And you can hear this like droning chant. And then suddenly you start hearing like the sounds of wood bending. Like you hear almost like the sounds of sloshing water. When you look around, Damian, you're looking down where the river, the headwaters of the Ispin are running under and past the village. And you see that the water direction like becomes quite turbulent. Like the water is being disturbed by some kind of force. And behind these curtains, you can hear the sounds of wood bending. Like, you know, this kind of thing is going on. And the whole time you're there until you get to the point of you decide either you have to move or not, you can hear the sounds of this wood being manipulated and the river itself responding to a force that's present.
Can I make out any particular voices? Like maybe possible recognizable ones?
You hear somebody, you can hear a voice that occasionally lifts higher than the group. So like it's sort of like if you think of like Baptist sort of church style singing, there is a lead choralist. You know, there's somebody who's actually doing the singing. And what languages do you speak? So you'd be speaking Kondian, of course.
Yeah.
Malathian. Yeah.
And then I got like Celestial and Quarry, if those are relevant.
All right. Make an intelligence roll for me. Just straight out intelligence for now.
Can I use the guidance apply here?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
Yep.
Because intelligence is not my greatest strong suit.
Ooh.
Yee.
Oh, no. No. You get distracted by the puppy. Like goes capering off towards the swirling water in the river and the debris that's being stirred up, and you sort of lose focus on it. But definitely, what I'll say to you is, as you walk away and the singing stops suddenly, you feel that there was a getting on to perhaps celestial element to the song. Okay.
Yeah, righto.
And then it seems to stop. And it's around, how long does Disguise Self last?
I believe it's an hour, but I will double check.
Yeah, I think it's about an hour, isn't it?
Yep.
Yep. So you've been hanging around to the point where if you don't sort of make your way back, chances are you're going to be, the spell will start to cast out. But by the same token, you haven't really seen anybody watching you. Like there doesn't seem to be any real attempt to guard.
Yeah, righto.
Outside.
I'll start kind of casually making my way back. I will try to avoid direct light anywhere, but
yeah,
I'll try and get behind where we're staying before I become myself again.
All right. So you head back to the inn itself and bed yourself in. The rest of your party members have sort of settled down for the night, you know, preparing, you know, everything for the next day. And as you lie down, do you want to share what you've seen?
Yeah, I'll share. I'll try and like hum what I heard and
Yep.
What have I got? No, I don't have anything to display that. I'll kind of like connect each person individually with my mind to
Okay. So you're going to try
kind of
and
portray
convey it?
visually what I saw.
Yeah.
I feel that's easy. I don't think Damian's very good at describing things.
Okay. So you're sharing it in that way. Okay. So what I'll ask is for each member of the party to make an arcana roll in relation to what Damian is sharing. Okay. Ooh.
I also managed to get any training in with the puppy, or I was just distracted.
Oh yeah. No, you're doing great catching sticks while you're standing there. Like because you come up and start whimpering, you throw another stick, and off you go and come back. So in the case of Windrah, I'm going to give this a roll, but with advantage. So okay. So Windrah, you listen to this, and Windrah says, "That's definitely a Mordrim chant." And when you describe the tattoos, she says that when a Mordrim surrenders their life to the bending of the elements for the benefit of the people, their body is marked with water from the river near Devil's Crossing, which carries the energy of Arlok within it, the living energy of water and lightning. They are passive, they are priests, they're protectors. They cannot do harm. I thought this. I saw that arm. Deafear has my people enslaved. This is how he's making these boats. So quickly and so strong and fine. He's using the power of the storm to build these ships quickly.
How would one enslave your people? Windrah?
Asking for a friend.
Every group of Mordrim is bonded to a foci, a voice it is referred to, the one who guides the song. If you capture the guide, you captured the chorus. Izhilu, it's at that point that I'll give you an insight roll. An inspired thought drifts across your mind and then dissipates equally quickly. There's something about this, something from the time when you travelled with the Macadria in the old days. There's something about this that strikes you. Windrah says, I know we are here for this vase, I know this. But we cannot let them stay enslaved, they must be taken home. This is not their role or their place.
Mm.
I know it's not the commission, but Pakundi's told us that we have to contact my father. He went to the storm plane. We could bring these Mordrim home.
Maybe we could kill two birds with one stone.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Most definitely.
And would the Mordrin be accepting of your assistance?
I don't know. I'm not ordained. However, I have been marked. They will probably listen to me. Or at least I hope they will. But some of the words that Damian has told us, the song has been tainted. They're being taught different words. These are not, they're not the song of the Mordrim or my people. A lot of it is, from what Damian has said and what he remembers and what is in his mind that he shared, but there are words in this that they're more harsh, they're different. I do not know. Either way, we need this jug, this amphora, this vase, whatever it is. And I don't know about any of you, but I wouldn't mind if we had a chance to kill that dwarf.
I'm there.